Hey guys, what's going on? It is absolutely boiling weather here in the UK, but we've got cards to review, so let's get to it. First card, we got High Priest Amet. It's a 4-mana 2/7. Whenever you summon a minion, say its health equal to this minion's. So essentially, if you play like a Wisp with this, you're getting a 1/7 instead of a 1/1. Very powerful effect. The stats are nice. It's really hard to kill this on curve for a lot of decks if you've been curving out. They're usually not going to have 7 points of damage ready to kill this, so it might stick around. Although it does kind of need to have high health when it sticks around for it to have the effect. You could do things like Divine Spirit this, have 14 health, and then your things are getting real big. This works really nice with cheap things, especially things with Taunt. So there's another priest card, I think it's called like Sandrudge or something, which is a 3/3, 3-mana 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a 1/1 with Taunt, and that works really well with this. You kind of make a mini Spreading Plague totems with this card, and you might even buff your 3/3 as well. Powerful card. You can drop it on curve. It's a little bit vulnerable. Like, the kind of deck you want to run this in, you want ways to generate tokens to make the most of it, so it probably runs Sandrudge. So you're probably not running too many high health things other than this, I guess. It's quite good with this card actually that was revealed, Infested Golem. You get the 1/1s, play it with the High Priest, they suddenly 1/7s or better, which is really annoying to get through, and then you can kind of maybe snowball your board from there. Also, with this card, Psychopomp, it interacts quite well with the 2/7, I think. I'm not sure on specifically how it works if you resummon the 2/7 itself, whether Psychopomp benefits immediately, like this thing comes back. Will it make Psychopomp a 3/7 instead of a 3/1? I'm not entirely sure on that, but just getting to this thing back with 7 health is just nice. It's a big minion, a big threat, someone they want to get rid of. So you could probably see this in deck. The Psychopomp does kind of work badly with the tokens, the Taunt tokens, because you don't really want to get them back that much. But a 1/1 Taunt with Reborn is still annoying to get through. It's kind of like you played Righteous Protector. And 3/1 Summon a Righteous Protector isn't the worst card in a lot of situations, so it's probably not that bad. Some OTKs you can do with this card with Stone Tuskball. Play this, Divine Spirit it twice maybe, play the boar, and then Topsy-Turvy it or Inner Fire or something. Powerful ways. It seems like a strong card, kind of annoying. You can run Infested Golem, you can run Sandrudge, and then if you draw this card, you get a really annoying mid-game to get through. It is kind of low on attack, which you can remedy a bit with Inner Fire, but if you're playing a lot of tokens in your deck, Inner Fire isn't a very strong card outside of these specific combos, so you might find yourself with dead hands a lot. Kind of hard to tell. I mean, it's a cool card, definitely a powerful effect. I'm not sure how strong the deck would be, especially if there's a lot of big minions around. Summoning 1/7s isn't going to do too much against them. It'd be very good against tokens, but against like 5/5s and things, you're going to get value traded anyway. It'll just slow their face damage, but you won't get back on board. Cool card though. Next we have Generous Mummy. This is a 3-mana 5/4 Reborn. Very powerful, but with a massive downside of your opponent's cards cost 1 less. Yeah, obviously really strong stats for the mana cost, very hard to get rid of, but the downside is so huge. So huge. I think a lot of decks have ways to take care of this, and they might not even want to take care of it, because if you play it in the early game, sure, it can maybe trade up quite well, but you're going to be stuck with this effect on the second minion, and your opponent's probably going to get 2 turns of it, essentially an Emperor Thurasund hand where everything costs 1 less. And if they're playing a bunch of cheap things like spells, they're going to pretty much dump their hand when you play this card, and maybe get it for 2 turns as well, which is really scary. It just seems the downside is way too huge. You're going to evolve into this sometimes. Mage oftentimes conjures callings, they're banana buffoons. Sometimes they're going to roll this and they're going to feel real sad about it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be played. Next up we have Grand Mummy, which is a 2-mana 1/2 reborn for priest. Death Rattle, give a random friendly minion +1/+1. Okay, so 1 attack for a 2-drop is pretty bad, and especially in priest I think it's doubly so, because they don't have great ways to ping things. They don't have any weapons or hero power that can finish things off, so they really do suffer from getting value traded. And in the early turns, this is going to get value traded. If you don't have a 1-drop with this, like if you don't 1-drop on 1 and your 1-drop survives and then you play this, it's tough to get value out of it. I mean, if they kill your 1-drop and leave this up, you can maybe buff your 3-drop with it. It's not the worst card. Kind of similar to other sticky 2-drops. Haunted Creeper was a 1/2 that summoned 2/1/1s. This is just the 1/1/1, but you get this buff effect as well. So if you play it like that, it seems a lot better. I mean, it's a solid card, but it just seems like Priest is the worst class for it. Although they're kind of releasing a lot of cards like Psychopomp, all that sort of thing, which kind of leads me to them trying to make a tempo style priest happen. There might just be a critical mass of it for it to work. This is certainly a strong card. It's just whether priest can make the most use out of it. It probably can do enough. It is good, I'd say. I think if you resummon this from Psychopomp, it doesn't reborn twice. Like, it's not got reborn, I don't think. I think it just counts as 1, like a Divine Shield. So, not super high rolls there. Obviously, you can resummon the back end, and that will have reborn, which is good. I think it's a good card. It's just that it's quite slow and very susceptible for you not having anything on board, which happens quite a lot in Priest. Like, people will remove your stuff because they know that Priest can snowball hard. But it is sticky. Next up we have Colossus of the Moon. Divine Shield, reborn, 10 mana, 10/10. Legendary. So this is a big boy. A big sticky boy. With a lot of attack. I don't think this gets in any deck unless you can cheat it out. And the 2 main ways I can see right now is it gets evolved into from like Conjuring Calling on a Sea Giant, which is a pretty big high roll. If you do this like against a warrior, it's kind of resistant to Brawl a little bit. It's resistant to a Mega Devastator. They need to ping off the Divine Shield first, and then the thing that comes back also has a Divine Shield. So it is quite sticky against that. So you would never be really too sad to get this of Conjurer's Calling. Other way you could use this is in a big Shaman deck with Muck Morphers. It's a pretty good roll off Muck Morpher, because you get, initially you'll get a 4/4 Divine Shield, which is fine. Hasn't got Taunt, unfortunately. But it will come back as a 10/1 Divine Shield, and you can use like Ancestral Healing on that for a 10/10 Taunt with Divine Shield, which is pretty powerful. Obviously they can try and kill it off, but it's somewhat hard to do. And obviously giving it Ancestral Spirit and things is also pretty good. So I could see it in that deck. But I think that otherwise it's just too expensive. Even in like Mage with Galaxy, where you could make it cost 1, I think this is just not a card you want to be running in that deck for the times where you don't hit your Pocket Galaxy. Mostly going to see this from Conjurer's Calling, I imagine. And it might make its way into Big Shaman. If that becomes a thing again. Who knows? Next we have a Warrior AoE spell, as if they didn't have enough good ones. Plague of Wrath. 5 mana, destroy all damaged minions. So yeah, this card kind of reminds me of Sleep with the Fishes, which is a card they had from Mean Streets, which was a 2 mana, deal 3 damage to all damaged minions, and it was a pretty decent card. It wasn't universally played in Warrior decks, but it was pretty good. This is obviously quite a lot more expensive, but it kills any minion. If there's quite a few big things in the metagame, you can combo this with a Warpath for 7 mana, and it's like a Twisting Never, which is fine. You could also run like Whirlwinds as well if you really wanted to make use of this, but I feel like you probably don't need to do that in a deck. You're probably oversaturating yourself with AoEs, and your hand will be too reactive. If you've played Dr. Boom and you hit the 1 damage AoE off it, it's normally not that strong, but with this card it suddenly becomes a lot better. Even the microbots as well become really nice with this. Just being able to essentially execute 3 things is really good for the microbots, and destroy their entire board with this is really nice with the AoE. So post boom, this card becomes way stronger. On turn 10, you can combo it with Dynamatic, which is also likely to clear a lot of their board as well. It's just a case of whether Warrior needs to run this as well, maybe like a one-off, because most of the time it's a late game card. You can combo it with Whirlwind or with Warpath on turns 6 or 7, but other than that, it's just like it's going to be dead in hand when you kind of need to AoE turn 5 or 6 a lot of the time. Next up we have Sunstruck Henchman, which is a 4 mana 6/5. At the start of your turn, has a 50% chance to fall asleep. Falling asleep, I think, is what happens when you first put a minion into play and it can't attack because it's got like the Zeds coming out of its head. So yeah, obviously it's kind of similar to freezing itself, although I believe if this does fall asleep and you silence it, it won't be able to attack, whereas if it was frozen, it could do. Because like silencing a minion when you first play it doesn't allow you to attack either. So that is a definite downside there. Obviously better stats than your average 4-drop, but the downside just seems way too much. Like a 4 mana 5/5 is probably about a playable card, so +1 attack for such a hefty downside doesn't seem worth it at all. So probably never going to see play. Finally, we have the Warrior Quest. Hack the System. 1 mana. Attack 5 times with your hero. Reward. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but that's what it is. Summon a 4/3 golem. After your hero attacks, refresh this. So kind of like Drax's hero power, but powered down, but you get to play it maybe multiple times a turn if you get to attack a lot. The problem I see with this card is that you want to play this in a weapon heavy deck so you can complete it consistently. But weapon heavy decks tend to be aggro decks, and this thing blocks your turn 1 if you want to play it on 1. And it blocks your Mulligan as well, because as an aggressive warrior, you really need to be hitting your early game curve, otherwise you're gonna lose the game pretty easily. Like, Warrior has access to some of the best 1-drops in the game right now, and if you're blocking them with this quest, it's really bad. looking at Town Crier, we're looking at the 1/3 mech. Both of those cards are really strong 1-drops, and you don't want to be passing that up to play Hack the System. They also have some other cards they want to play on like turn 2 and 3. Like this on 1, this maybe on 2, along with like Armor Smith and things. And then on turn 3, we have Bloodsworn Mercenary, and this thing really benefits from you having minions that have stuck around. And if you're playing the quest on 1, that means you're going to have less minions in hand because you've lost a card from the mulligan. It means you haven't got that 1-drop to either stick around on board or help contest board so that one of your later game drops does stick around. So if you're playing the quest in that kind of deck, it's a little bit harder to get this guy off on turns 3 or 4, which is something you really want to do because I think this card's really strong. Obviously, there's a whole host of weapons you can use in Warrior to proc this quest. Weapons Project's fine, although if you're playing a weapony deck, you usually don't want to give your opponent armor because you want to be killing them. There's Upgrade you can use early on. Arathi Weaponsmith's good. Sulphraze becomes really strong with this because you can attack multiple times a turn. I just don't think the reward is worth gimping your early turns, really, especially at turn 1 in Warrior. It seems to me that you really need to be curving out with a tempo style deck turns 1 to 4, and this is just going to block that. I don't think this goes in any other deck, not in a Dr. Boom deck. You really don't run enough weapons for that deck, and you don't want to have this butt heads with your Dr. Boom hero power anyway. So I think this quest might just be bad, which is fine. Warrior already has access to some pretty OP hero powers, so I don't think they're going to mind too much. Alright, that's it for today. I am sweating like a pig from doing this. It is so hot here, but join me again for the next one. We'll be doing some more card reveals probably tomorrow.